The 11-year-old was riding the bus home from Festus, Missouri, and knew the route like the back of his hand. That's why when he noticed a guardrail along the roadway was broken and severely dented, he assumed whatever had caused it had happened that day. Jerald could see parts and pieces of metal and plastic spread down the road as the bus drove by, and he believed he spotted a person splayed out in the field. Surprised that no one else appeared to notice, he raced to the front of the bus and informed the driver of what he had seen. The bus driver acknowledged that there was something out in the field but dismissed it as nothing and continued driving. We will be talking about what this boy noticed under the bridge in today's video. It will be great if you like and share this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon next to it and get notified when we add new interesting videos in the future. Now, let's get back to the story. Jerald notices a weird figure beneath a bridge. When he gets a better look, he bursts into tears. Every child wishes to be a hero. Whether it is standing up to a bully at school or being the voice of reason in a perilous circumstance, Jerald Withers discovered his inner hero when he saw something by the side of the road and resolved to do something no one else would. He was intuitive and can notice that something was off around him. The bus trip home from school might soon become tedious. Going on the same route every day makes it easy to zone out, and many youngsters end up looking out the window, watching the world go by. That's what Jerald Withers was doing one November day when he realized something wasn't quite right. Jerald Withers was an ordinary 11-year-old boy. He had to cope with the typical tasks such as homework and maintaining his grades. But all changed one day in November 2017 when he was confronted with a life or death situation. The way he approached the situation may have changed his life. Jerald lives in Festus, Missouri, where nothing seemed to ever happen. He had not anticipated finding himself in this circumstance. Jerald was more concerned than anything else about whether the Green Bay Packers would win the big game that weekend. He had no idea how drastically his life was about to alter. Jerald was driving home from school. He gazed out the bus window, taking in the scenery. The bus was set to pass under a nearby bridge. Jerald then spotted something that piqued his interest. To get a better glimpse, he placed his face against the window. Jerald saw that the railing appeared to have been driven clear through. This is an abnormality. Every day he glances out the window. As a result, he became aware of the distinction. It had a 90-degree curve in it. Whatever had occurred had to have had a significant amount of power, he reasoned. Why else would the guardrail be twisted so badly? As the bridge neared, Jerald spotted what seemed to be thrash metal and machinery scattered down the side of the road. He observed a form in the film that looked like a deer or an animal. He was the only one who saw it as the bus was driving. Jerald sprang out of his seat, his pulse beating. Something was incorrect. He dashed up to the front and informed a bus driver what he'd witnessed, but it was futile. Jerald was deemed to be exaggerating by the driver. He admitted that something was undoubtedly laying in the field, but it appeared to be nothing. The bus sped right by the scene. The driver felt certain there was nothing to be concerned about. Jerald was dropped off at his customary spot by the bus. Even after Jerald returned home, he couldn't stop thinking about what he'd witnessed. It was a frightening image that he wanted to forget. Someone or something was out there in dire need of assistance. Jerald was becoming concerned. He had to find out what had occurred. Jerald's mother, who operated the overturf, observed that her son was acting strangely. She was curious as to what was bothering the young man's thoughts. She sat him down and inquired as to what was wrong. She made sure he was at ease, talking about anything that was on his mind. Jerald informed his mother about what he saw through the bus window. He started crying as he described how the bus driver rejected his efforts to halt the vehicle. His mother noticed how earnest and concerned her kid was as he described what he witnessed on his way home from school. Jerald expressed his concern that the worst had occurred and asked if he might be of assistance. Brandy was well aware that even though children had vivid imaginations, Jerald was being dead serious, and she knew it. She thought he'd seen something alarming, and she wanted to assuage his fears. He had a feeling it was something. His instinct was right. He knew he was onto something. He just had to uncover what it was. It wasn't a deer at all. He followed his instincts. Jerald and Brandy got into their vehicle. Jerald informed his mother that he believed he saw a broken railing, scrap metal in an enigmatic shape, Jerald grew increasingly agitated as they sped down the highway. Jerald began to question himself on the way there. Had he seen anything? What if it was all for naught? He wasn't even sure whether he'd be able to mention any of the bizarre things he'd witnessed. Jerald then noticed the damaged guardrail approaching in the distance. He was correct. Brandy and Jerald got out of the car and onto the road, where they studied the twisted guardrail. When Jerald noticed something in the ditch far away, Brandy and her son climbed down a steep wayside into the area. That's when the two of them came across something that chilled him to his core. The strewn remains of a smashed motorbike littered the road in every way. The ranking bike, the shattered guardrail. Brandy and Jerald were aware that there was one more factor to consider, but they were terrified to discover how serious it was. Jerald spun on his heel and dashed away, seemingly out of nowhere. Brandy chased him down. She observed him walking towards the ditch. Brandy dashed after her kid, who was sprinting for the ditch. She soon discovered why. Brandy noticed the outline of a still person as they neared. Brandy didn't want her kid to be haunted by the memory of a heinous event. She considered protecting him from the biker who had a helmet but didn't appear to be moving. Jerald, on the other hand, acted quickly. Jerald tried not to think about the dreadful accident that lay ahead of him. He understood exactly what he had to do. Jerald grabbed his mother's phone and contacted 911 right away. Jerald and Brandy were surprised to learn that the rider was still alive when paramedics arrived at the site. He was, however, hardly breathing. They were able to identify the biker as Billy McMahon. In an attempt to save his life, the ambulance rushed him to the hospital. Jerald and Brandy could do whatever he wanted. Jerald's grandpa, Bob, was an ardent motorcyclist himself. That evening, he tried to console Jerald. While they waited word from the hospital, it was clear that Jerald had done everything he could. A phone call cut Bob off in the middle of his sentence. Jerald was informed by the hospital that Billy would survive. They predicted that he would make a full recovery. Jerald was also told that if it hadn't been for Hunt's dedication and efforts, Billy would have died for a variety of reasons. Jerald's school bus had been driven by the fallen motorcyclist for the first time. He'd been laying in the ditch for several hours. Billy would have died if Jerald and his mother had not returned to check the issue. Fortunately, Jerald had arrived in time. It's insane to consider that he could have perished. Therefore, the fact that he is still alive is quite fortunate, thanks to Jerald's persistence and good intuitive instinct. Things could have been worse. With that in mind, the municipality sought to reward Jerald for his efforts. They got together and devised a surprise for Jerald to express their gratitude. Festus Hale, an 11-year-old boy, is a local hero. A stranger called Rob Bass even gave Jerald tickets to a St. Louis Cardinals game. That was a way of showing his unending gratitude to the boy for saving his life. Jerald was overjoyed by the goodwill exhibited by his community, even though he had not aided the motorcyclist for the publicity. Word of the tale quickly spread. Jerald's narrative had found its way to Wisconsin, directly to the Green Bay Packers office. They wanted to reward their fans for their bravery, so they sent Jerald a signed portrait of Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, as well as an entire package of official Packers clothing. Jerald, on the other hand, recognized what the actual prize was. Jerald's greatest accomplishment was being able to save someone who was in severe need of help. Jerald, despite his youth, observed how his bravery and heroism touched the life of someone else. Thank you for staying with me till the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like and share the video. You can leave your questions and thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified when we add new videos in the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.